Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to AchtungMillwall. This is a bit of a disclaimer, to be absolutely honest with you, listeners. I recorded the conversation that you're about to hear with John Rankin yesterday, early evening, after the friendly match. I actually tested positive for COVID last night, where my wife did a test on me and came out very strongly positive. And I must admit, I'm going to be upfront. I had the game on the screen. My attention span was severely limited. I'm feeling a bit more human today. So I'm going to try and edit the conversation that John and I had into something that I hope is coherent. Do tell me if I was coherent or not. But it's just a bit of a heads up, disclaimer, whatever you want to call it, that I was in the grip of forces beyond my control yesterday afternoon when I spoke with John Rankin. Big thank you to John, incidentally, for joining me. This is a level of dedication we have on this show to get something out to you. I hope it's worth listening to, though. Thank you to Matt Webb as well for the post-match message that he sent to me. So going to cut over now to hear John and myself in conversation about Millwall's win 2-0 at the Priestfield Stadium over Gillingham in the friendly.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. In the spite of a lifelong aversion to friendly football, listeners, today I bought a stream, a £5 stream to watch Gillingham play Millwall this afternoon. 2-0 win for the Lions. It was very much a pre-season match, and it reinforced every single prejudice I've got against going to friendlies. But joining me to discuss the pre-match events, and which is probably the more important part of today's game, and then obviously the game itself, such as we can, is Mr. John Rankin. Well done for going today, John. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. And me and my son drove over there from Hastings, where we live, and cross country.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you know, the football wasn't great. It was it just was a workout, if you like. But it gave us a chance to look at some players, Alex Mitchell and Akoli and the left wing back. Is it Edmund?
Yeah, Brian, SA. I mean, I
Yeah,
picked out a
SA.
few that I thought stood out.
Yeah, so we can talk about them, you know, later.
Well, it's nice to get back to football, John. I mean, you know, we're going to touch on the John Barrelson tributes before the game because obviously it dominates things at the moment at the Den. But I thought it was, if nothing else, it felt pleasantly familiar. I mean, I've tuned into the stream today, but you're just getting back into some degree of normality again, and to get back to watching some football, mate. I mean, how did you see the pre-match stuff? I thought it was done very well by both clubs. In fairness, Gillingham and Millwall.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. You know, I thought it was really excellent. It wasn't over the top. What was nice was that the voiceover guy from Gillingham, the compere, said we're not going to have a minute's silence because Millwall feel that should be reserved in a special place for their first home game of the season. So
That's interesting. Yeah.
It was nice the way he said it. And he said, so don't, you know, he said, I just want to send it out to Millwall fans that we're not going to do that. He said, Neil and Gary are going to bring out some rosettes, clap when you want to. And, you know, there was a bit of singing and it was a nice, it was nice. It was the Millwall family just sort of coming together and saying hello and, you know, just saying we're all here for each other. There were some nice moments with the players as well. I mean, one of my particular favourite players is George Honeyman, as you know. And they were passing the ball around and you know, there wasn't all the crowd hadn't turned up. And he caught my eye and I waved out to him and he waved back, you know, and it was a nice moment for me. And just to say, right, here we are again. We're all still here. We've had a big loss. We've had a tragic loss of a fantastic chairman, possibly the best post-war chairman, you know, we've had post-Second World War. And but we're here and we're going to carry on. You know, and we're all together. We all have our arguments and our ups and downs, but we're all family at the end of the day. We're here for the best club in the world.
100%. Well said, John. I mean, I was watching the stream, listeners. It was a strange kind of combined effort between the Gillingham TV service and Max of Millwall. Incidentally, Max, if you're listening, mate, I thought you presented very well today. And the pre-match videos, which you wouldn't have seen, John, but Very nicely done, featuring tributes to John Barros and interviews with Neil Harris, stalwart of Millwall history, of course, and Gary Rowett. And then, as we've said, the kind of production of the Reef as the two teams came out, I thought that was all very, very nicely done. Hats off to both Gillingham FC and Millwall, obviously, for what they did there. These games, I know why I never liked them, John, because you get like an aimless sense of it's like going to the gym and watching someone work out on the bikes or something. There was two different lineups, first half lineup and then a second half lineup. But I do think that we saw some interesting. It wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't the worst game I've ever seen. But we did see some standout performance. I think Roman Esse, if we didn't know it already, John, is clearly been touched by the hand of God. I think he's got real potential, this boy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that entirely. I mean, he's only 17 as well, and it's like silly. He's 17.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
he looked strong on the ball.
Yeah.
He didn't get knocked off the ball easy. He had plenty of time. Was always looking for a creative pass, always looking to move the ball forward. He played quite deep as well. I was noticing how deep he was coming. He was acting like this sort of Johan Cruyff pivot, a very deep number 10 picking the ball up.
Yeah.
And he's first team squad.
He's got the touch. First half team. Let's read out the first half lineup for listeners. It was Bart Bielkowski, Murray Wallace, Jake Cooper, Nisbet. This is not in any particular order. It's just how they publish it on Twitter. Nisbet, first site of is it? What's his name? Darren Nisbet? Not Darren Nisbet, is it? Kevin Nisbet. Darren Nisbet was a children's TV star.
You're thinking of Rab C. Nisbet.
Rab C. Nisbet. Kevin Nisbet, who scored the first goal in the penalty in the first half. Billy Mitch, Tom Bradshaw, Joe Bryan. What's his first? Is it Joe Bryan? Joe Bryan. Duncan Watmore, Roman Esse. Alex Mitchell was interesting to see, and also George Honeyman. So then we had a swap over at half time. I thought we looked better in the first half, John, without ever really, really extending ourselves. Neither side really were going at it 100%, but I don't remember too much from the Gillingham side of matters, whereas we obviously did have a few chances, actually, as well as the penalty on 25. There was a couple of decent saves by their goalkeeper through the first half. Large chunks, though, of workout, I suppose I saw the best way I can put it in that first half.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Very much a training match. I think Alex Mitchell looked good.
Yep.
Very assured on the ball. Very confident.
Watmore stood out for me as well.
Duncan Watmore. You mentioned Roman Esse.
Yeah.
And Joe Bryan was a little bit quiet. Didn't really see much from him, to be honest with you. But Rowett was playing a three at the back with two wing backs. So he had George Honeyman playing as a right wing back, but very high, and Joe Bryan very high. And then he had Alex Mitchell, Jake Cooper, and Murray Wallace as three centre backs. So I don't know. I mean, I couldn't really fathom out what was going on in that respect. But Esse looked good. But yeah, I mean, you had Nisbet and Bradshaw up front. Not sure whether they know how to work with each other yet. They've
got to build an understanding, haven't they? I think.
Yeah, that'll come. A couple of free matches, and they'll know when to run off. And I mean, what we're looking for really is Nisbet to nod it down or hold it up for Bradshaw to run onto and score in the box, aren't we? I think we're looking for that sort of arrangement. Yeah,
just looking at my notes, I did make a few notes for your listeners. A shot on 11 minutes from Watmore, it was well saved by the Gills goalkeeper. Disallowed goal in 15. That was a nice little run by Roman Esse. I think he just took it over the byline as he crossed back in for Tom Bradshaw to slot home. And then the penalty, which was really nicely taken, John.
It was, yeah.
His first sight of Kevin Nisbet, but I thought he took it really well. Top right hand corner, the kind of penalties I like. None of this Panenka business, it's blasted high in the top corner. That's what you want for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to take them. Alan Shearer, that way.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. Good all round. it wasn't, it wasn't going to be cut and thrust. You don't really want your players going out there
No.
pulling a hamstring, do you, and stuff like that. So
No.
it was minutes in the legs, as the saying goes nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, speaking before the game, Gary Rowett did, and Neil Harris actually said, and during his interview, that they wouldn't be playing the same players. No one will be doing a full 90. It will be two teams of 45. I
Yeah,
think Honeyman went out injured, didn't he? In the first half, he seemed to
yeah,
take a
got a
knock.
little knock. Yeah,
And Danny Mack came in, but they employed, I think, impromptu rolling subs to bring Alex Mitchell back on again later on in the second half once Danny had done his stint.
yeah,
Second half lineup: Jules Long, Danny Mack, Sean Hutchinson, George Evans, Zian Fleming, Ryan Leonard, Andreas Vogelsammer, Domo and Marku. I was quite impressed with Marku, John.
the second half was more interesting. And Marco did really well. Scored a goal.
Nicely finished
Purely,
goal.
yeah,
Yeah,
and purely through physical presence.
yeah.
Um, Now the other two lads, is it Oloku?
A Coley. So we've got Marku, we've got Jules Saville, then we've got Coley, and fortunately, I think his name that is pronounced Malachi, Adam Malachi. I think I
Yeah,
was calling
now
it Malarkey
Ed
when I could be.
Malaki, the wing
Yeah,
back, very very good player. Coley, who we saw at the under 21s
we did.
final
Yeah.
against Sheffield, and we all raved about. He's not ready for it yet. You could see that.
Big step up. I was struck by
Mm.
that because I thought he would really be a prospect. And
He's not quite ready. Yeah.
no, it's a big step up. It's physically harder, and
Mm.
I think that might be a bit of a wake up call for him because he wants to take the next step. And I think he's got the capability, but he needs to get bigger. Needs to be stronger.
Yeah, he
He looks like
he got bullied off the ball quite a few times,
yeah,
didn't he? Caught in
a couple of
possession,
times.
bullied off the ball. But that'll come. That's just I think a couple of games at a higher level, and he'll soon raise his game to sort that out. 'Cause he's a big lad as well, and I think
Yeah,
it caught him by surprise that that the opposition attacker would be in his face so aggressively, and I think it just caught him by surprise. So he'll adjust. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the new talent looked good, not out of their depth.
no, I thought so. I think Gillingham. They had a Max doing the Millwall comment, and he was teamed with a Gillingham match day announcer. I think they said he was. Can't think of his name, but he said that a lot of the second half Gillingham side were youngsters who would see this as a big shot, big chance because it did get a bit more physical. I thought from the Gillingham side as the game went along
Mm.
without any real threat. It was a good save on 65. I've got here. George Long, after a bit of naivety by Chinakoli, actually, I think he got pushed off. That might have
Yeah,
been what we were
push off
talking
the
about,
ball
John.
again. Yeah, yeah.
But good save by George Long. And then the goal on 86, which was a beautiful finish, actually. I think that, we wondered for a long while what to make of Marku. We haven't seen him yet, but I think on today's showing, I'd hope to see him again because I think he's got the magic ingredient, the factor X. He looks like he's got it.
Well, will he be the Tyler Bury replacement next season? Because obviously Tyler's going where he's going. I mean, it's a shame, but will
Yeah,
Imaku be the impact sub that comes on and just causes mayhem? Because he looks to me like the sort of player that he's obviously fast, he's full of energy,
yeah,
and he can just disrupt and really scare opposition defenders and put them under pressure. He when he scored his goal or just before he scored his goal, he had a
yeah.
stonewall penalty not given where he took the ball
He
and
was barged in the face, wasn't he? Barged in the face.
we were right in line with it. We were
Yeah,
and we all went pen straight away,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
what he's got this nice technique of when the ball got played through to him, and rather than taking a touch, he just let the ball run and without touching it and turned himself,
yeah,
and that gives you immediate momentum. Players that can do that, they're already half a yard in front of the defender, and
yeah.
and he was turning the defender inside out, and in the end, I think the other guy just come across and took him out. And will he be the super sub that replaces Tyler Bury next season. That would
Well,
be my.
that would be very nice if it works out that way.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, the news in the week was that Tyler. I think it was a strangely written piece actually, because Tyler is was training with the under-21s and is clearly on the exit route out from the Den. And Gary Rowett said words to the effect of he's not going to be involved with the team because he wants to go. And it was kind of, you got a sense of as a postage on the feeling is a little bit mutual now. If a player don't want to play for you, then it's best off for all concerned that he's gone, which is a shame.
Yeah,
But
it is.
some romances never work in this life, listeners, do they? So it finished 2-0. Funny things, friendlies, John. I've always been a bit wary of friendlies because you don't want to lose them. You don't want to put too much effort into winning them. And you go into them always thinking the result's unimportant. And at the same time, you don't want to get beat. So it's a very odd mix of. I mean, we won it today, so that's good news. But losing your friendlies can be depressing, can't it? I mean, it's got
Well,
nothing to do with the league season once they begin. They're just odd things.
well, I thought it was a very good result for Millwall, and I thought Millwall navigated it well. Tell you why,
Yeah,
because everything to lose and nothing to gain. You know, I was chatting to a Gillingham supporter as I was getting back in my car because we parked around by the station. Nice old boy.
yeah,
And he said,
yeah,
"Oh, I thought we were going to have a draw there in the second half." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Scrappy old match, wasn't it?" And he went, "No, no." He said, "Oh, we was up for it and all that." And you forget that, they're League Two and we're Championship, and we just missed out on the playoff. So there's everything to lose from our point of view, and everything to gain from their point of view. If they have a good run, it sends out. If they beat us, it sends out a lovely statement for the season. It gets the club up and on the front foot. And if we lose, it's like, oh,
yeah. It's a downer.
it's a
Yeah,
it's a minefield, and I think it wasn't attractive football. Everyone was a bit bored. I mean, it was a tough watch, but at the end of
yeah.
the day, we got the job done, and we,
There's
I,
minutes in the
thought we
tank,
did.
as the cliche has it. Yeah, it's just funny you say talking about the difference in levels. The Gillingham commentator with Max kept repeatedly going on about teams of the calibre of Millwall and players at this championship level, and talking about the contrast with the League Two, you know, squad that Gillingham have and compete
Yeah.
against, and you do tend to forget. Actually, it is a real step up now. The Championship is there's a bit of a gulf between that and the likes of League Two, and you did see it on occasions today because they were pretty. It was an FA Cup tie in a funny kind of way, without quite the same amount of oomph in the fixture. But it was an easy game to have fallen flat on your face. So not to have done that,
Mm.
I think, is very good by Millwall. I think that's probably the best summary. I picked out a couple of posts from Twitter. John, I'll run them past you, mate. Merv Payne says it's encouraging to see us put two strong championship quality teams out, first half and second half. Usually in these matches, one of them is a lot weaker. Shows what a strong squad we have when all fit. Nisbet looks lively. Brian's solid, and Imarku's pace could be very useful. That's roughly what we've said. I suppose. I mean, it's an interesting point by Merv there because it's become kind of commonly accepted truth that we need to strengthen still. We probably do, but that was two sides, first half and second half, that you could probably put into a championship situation. So to have that amount of resources at hand is not a bad thing, is it?
No, I agree, and I mean the only sort of caveat to that is, I think we've got the personnel. We could do with, obviously George Long was a bit of an issue last season with his long shot.
Yeah. Did well today. He made a good
Did
save.
well, and can he improve that aspect of his game? Because you know, because Gillingham took a few long pots at him, so they know he's a bit shaky on a long shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're dead right. I think we have got strength in depth. It just depends how we deploy our players, I think. And if we go back to the 5-2-1-2, where you need those wing backs, I think
Yeah.
that's going to leave us short again because I don't think we've got them. I think we need that back four. We need the two full backs and the two central defenders, and a more packed midfield. Two wide midfielders who can play out on the wing,
Yeah.
two for the middle, and then and two up front. it's not 4-4-2. It's you can call it 4-1-2-1-2 or something. To avoid that. Oh, they're playing 4-4-2. But I think that's going to be the crucial thing for me because that five at the back. We've got the three. You've got these wing backs doing two roles. It's a lot
Yeah.
to ask. A lot to ask for the likes of Danny Mack and Joe Bryan.
Oh, this is why I'm glad I brought you on the show, John, because I spent a fair chunk of the start of the second half trying to work out what formation we're in. I must have rubbed out the names and places about 3 or 4 times. I couldn't fathom out what we were doing, but it all worked out in the end, and that's that's why I asked John to come on because he can get straight to it. So
Well, if you have this, thanks. If you have this 5-2-1-2, right, which is what supposed. So that's three central defenders, two
yeah,
wing backs, two holding midfielders. So that's Billy Mitchell and George Saville. Your Zian Fleming, your number 10, then your two attackers. You say, well, it's crucial that those wing backs can actually play like wingers, like Scott Malone could.
yeah, yeah.
They've got to be able to defend and they've got to be able to get forward and run down and play like a winger. And it's a big ask. And I don't think Danny Mack's quite there at the moment.
No, I'd agree with that.
And I'm not sure. So is on paper it's a lovely system, and it's one of the most popular systems in modern football. But boy, you need, even that kid at Liverpool, what's his name, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's
Yeah,
struck.
yeah.
They put him into midfield now, haven't they? And he's much happier.
He's further forward now. Yeah, more creative.
It's a tough game. So I think, I think if you go for the classic setup for Millwall, our best ever team was a 4-2-4. Terry Hurlock and Les Briley in the middle, and then you got Jimmy Carter and Kevin O'Callaghan,
O'Callaghan on the other wing, or George Lawrence, yeah.
They were actually midfielders. They were classified it, but we all know Jimmy Carter and Kevin were wingers, and then the Batman and Robin down the middle.
Absolutely.
So that's the only thing that I think that's going to sort of be the make or break of our season, how we play and how we set up, and is Gary Rowett the guy to do it, to take the risk? He loves his five at the back, doesn't he? He wants to play all the time,
He does. There we are. I think we've probably wrung every last drop out of that rather bland game overall, but a good win for the Lions, as we've said. John, I want to say a big thank you to you for coming on the show. Before I close, actually, I want to close with this post here. It's gloriously over the top, listeners. It's from a guy called Spiritual Gaza. Way over the top. I love it, Spiritual. He says, God, Ramon Esse is moving the ball like Iniesta. What more is running at players like the 2012 Messi? Joe Bryan is running a line like Marcelo, and Nisbet is sticking away penalties like Harry Maguire. We are cooking, says Spiritual Guys. I want to have a pint of whatever he had before he went in the ground.
What's not to like about that tweet? I mean, I agree 100%. Let's go for it. It's going to be a great season. And let's get down there and enjoy it. Really,
100%. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Aren't you, Jim?
I am, and I think we've got some good players. I really do.
Agree.
And it's going to be. It's going to be in honour of John Berylson, obviously. So I think there's going to be plenty of motivation. It's going to be a very emotional first home match. Me and my boy are going to try. We're going to try and get to Middlesbrough. He's desperate to go to the Riverside, and if my nearly 60-year-old frame can manage it, I'll take him up there. It's the driving and all that. It kills you, mate, doesn't it?
It's a murderous drive up there, and it's a very, very expensive return rail trip. So good luck if you do take it on, mate. No, I'm looking forward to the season. It's nice to have the football back. We've been through the mare of a close season, especially recently, and it's nice to get back into the game. I've been a bit flippant about the match today. It is only a workout, and that's we come out on the winning side of our workout, and that's all you can really ask for. John Rankin, big thank you for joining me, mate. Appreciate it.
No, my pleasure, and all the best, Nick, for the new season. All the best, listeners. You know, come on,
Absolutely.
you Lions. We're gonna do it.
100%. I don't know when I'll be back next, listeners. Probably ahead of the Middlesbrough game. I can't make the Fortuna Dusseldorf, Fortuna Sittard game, and I can't see. I might watch the Charlton one. I think they'll do a stream of that. They're not doing anything for Sutton. I can't get over the Sutton, so we might get another showing before the start of the season. But until the next edition of Achtung Mill, thank you for listening. Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Hello?
Hi Nick, Matt Webb here, coming back from the pre-season game against Gillingham. Well, I don't know about you or any other listeners, but I'm glad we're back watching football. Personally, I hate the mid-May, June and half of July period when there's nothing going on. So glad to see Millwall back out on the pitch. But today's game, it was a run out. It was good for the boys, good for them to get some minutes under their belt. If I break it down, the first half, players that stood out for me, 100% was Esse. He was controlling that midfield like no tomorrow. For me, he was excellent. And you could just see the boys got talent. And, you know, I really hope we see a lot more of him playing this season, because he has got something there. Other mentions, I thought Bradshaw done his usual Bradshaw self, worked himself well to the ground. Watmore did well, I think he got the penalty, and it was a stonewall penalty as well from where I was seeing it. And obviously Nesbitt to put the goal away, which is very positive. Look at the other end of the pitch. I thought Alex Mitchell, I don't know what he's had in his breakfast, but God, he looks like an absolute unit. And I think we'll see a lot more of him this season, which is also very promising. And good to see Bart in goal. And I think that must have pleased a fair few Millwall fans, seeing him between the sticks. Second half, okay, you know, as I said, it's a pre-season friendly, so you should really take things with a pinch of salt. But some more positives out there in the second half. Obviously, seeing Fleming out there. Imaku, I thought, done really well, and took his goal really well as well in the second half. The two youngsters, Malachi and Okoye, at the back, I think it'll be good for them to get out on loan to maybe like League 2 level. That'll be really good to see them go out on loan, because you can see there's something about them. A few mistakes, but they're kids, and you know they've got to learn from those mistakes. So, but if you can throw them out on loan this season, I think they will thrive 100%. Overall, good crowd, good 2,000 mil there, singing loud, sing proud. Fair play to both sets of managers, or both clubs really, with the wreath that was presented at the beginning of the game. But all in all, yeah, good workout for the boys, and let's roll on to the next game. Come on, you Lions.
Achtung, Millwall.